Jaya. Jaya. Hari Hari Bol.
All glorious to the assembled devotees. All glorious to the assembled devotees.
Hare
Glorious to the assembled devotees. All glorious to the lotus feet of Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. All glorious to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. So it is a great honor and privilege to be here amongst the wonderful devotees of Sri Damli Mayapur. Very grateful to all of you for opening the doors and allowing us to come again, despite probably innumerable offenses over the years. But thank you for your graciousness. And nice to be here with Goswami and Krishna Charna Vinda Devi. Please begging your blessings that although I'm sitting on the raised platform and disqualified, that some experience and spiritual knowledge and wisdom, so that I can speak something relevant and bona fide from the pages of this most exalted scripture. Only by the mercy of Vaishnavas is anything possible, so I'm falling at your lotus feet and begging for your blessings. So we are speaking from the Adi Lila, chapter 2. Starting with verse 3, which is also the invocation verse, so we can all chant together, and then one by one, different devotees can also do it. Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda.
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 Jaya Rita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Rita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Rita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Rita Chandra Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda.
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 Jaya Rita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Rita Chandra Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Rita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Rita Chandra Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Someone else would like to chant? That's the verse for today.
Jai Jai Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda.
Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda.
Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Rita Chandra Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda.
Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda.
Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Rita Chandra Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda.
Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda.
Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda.
Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda.
Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda.
Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Other ladies, you won't get a verse easier than this one.
Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda.
Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda.
Jaya Dvaita Chandra
Jaya Dvaita Chandra
Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda.
Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda.
Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura
Bhakta Vrinda.
Feeling like we could just chant this verse for the whole class. You know? Okay, so this is verse 3 of the second chapter of Adi Lila, and the translation. All glories to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Please repeat. All glories to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
Let's say it with some enthusiasm. All glories to Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
All glories to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
And Lord Sri Nityananda.
And Lord Sri Nityananda.
All glories to Advaita Acharya.
All glories to Advaita Acharya.
And all glories to the devotees of Lord Gauranga.
And all glories to the devotees of Lord Gauranga.
Haribo. Okay, now that everyone's all fired up. Text 4. Tritiya slokera adakari vivaran vastunir desha rupa mangala charan. Translation. Srila Prabhupada. Let me describe the meaning of the third verse of the first 14. It is an auspicious vibration that describes the absolute truth. So one might be asking, what does this mean? Let me describe the third verse of the first 14. And we're only in the fourth verse of the second chapter. So the first chapter, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami gives some very significant verses which he explains over the next several chapters and gives more in-depth explanations. So now he's repeating the third of those 14 that he gave in the first chapter, and he's going to explain in depth. And of course, Srila Prabhupada explains even more in depth with a very lengthy purport. Text number 5. Yadadvaitam brahmopanishadi tadapya asya tanuba ya atmaram yami purusho iti so shamsara vibhav sad aishvarya purno na iha bhagavan sa swayam mayam na chaitanya krishna jagati paratatvam paramiha. Translation. What the Upanishads describe as the impersonal Brahman is but the effulgence of his body, and the Lord, known as the Super Soul, is ringing bells to remind us all to wake up. Jeev Jago, Jeev Jago. I think he's trying to hypnotize us all. And the Lord, known as the Super Soul, is but his localized plenary portion. He is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna himself, full with 6 opulences. He is the absolute truth, and no other truth is greater than or equal to him. So this is one place where I feel that it's beneficial if you do have a mobile device, and you can look at this because it's a very long purport. And my experience with reading, my experience with reading in general is that somehow when a devotee starts to read, the other devotees listening start to feel like they're 5 years old and their grandmother is reading fairy tales to them to put them to sleep. So they start to go like this. And like, often not much goes in, so it's good if you read along at least somehow. There may be a feeling that it's going on. But if not, then I'll probably stop after every paragraph and just make sure we're all still awake, because there's about 12 paragraphs of purport. This is verse 5 of second chapter of Adivila.
Then they'll just check their email.
Well,
They get distracted.
at least they'll stay awake. Okay, so purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jaya. The compilers of the Upanishads speak very highly of the impersonal Brahman. The Upanishads, which are considered the most elevated portion of the Vedic literatures, are meant for persons who desire to get free from material association and who therefore approach a bona fide spiritual master for enlightenment. Anyone here would like to get free from material association? No? Okay. The prefix upa indicates that one must receive knowledge from the absolute truth from a spiritual master. One who has faith in his spiritual master actually receives transcendental instruction, and as his attachment for material life slackens, he is able to advance on the spiritual path. Knowledge of the transcendental science of the Upanishads can free one from the entanglement of existence in the material world, and when thus liberated, one can be elevated to the spiritual kingdom of the Supreme Personality of Godhead by advancement in spiritual life. Anyone would like to reflect back what that first paragraph has said? Anyone remembers anything that was said in that first statement? Say that again. We don't want association with material desires, yes.
Associating the spiritual master is the solution.
Association with the spiritual master is a solution, yes. There was another solution given also. Huh? Yeah, hearing. Hearing knowledge from the Upanishads. And, of course, that means we also need to, Upa means we need to hear from the spiritual master. So by hearing from the Upanishads, we understand it's kind of like Yasha Prasade Bhagavad Prasada Yasha Prasada Nagati Katoti, that by the mercy of Krishna one gets Guru, and by the mercy of Guru one gets Krishna, and vice versa. Anything else stood out? Anyone? One thing that stood out to me was this statement that and as his attachment for material life slackens, he is able to advance on the spiritual path. So I was just thinking, as our attachment to material life slackens. Of course, Prabhupada, very generous here, he doesn't say that when attachment to material life is completely gone. He says, but as it slackens, and that word slackens is quite, it's like when you're driving the oxen, right? Sometimes you can slacken the reins, right? And sometimes you have to pull them tight. So like as our material attachment slackens, as we're not so attached, we're letting go, we become, we're able to make spiritual advancement. Okay, second paragraph. The beginning of spiritual enlightenment is realization of the impersonal Brahman. Such realization is effected by gradual negation of material variegatedness. Prabhupada is just brilliant, isn't he? Genius, the way that he writes, so poetic. And of course, his English and Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's English are also, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, you have to stop after every sentence and just try to get a dictionary out. No Prabhupada here. Self-realization is effected by gradual negation of material variegatedness. Very powerful statement. Anyone would like to offer reflection on that, just that statement by Srila Prabhupada? What does that mean?
Gradually, as we give up or slow down on material life or material variegatedness, the self-realization is kind of like increase or enhances.
Yes. Jaya Shri Madhav, Shri Krishna Balaram, Shri Nitai.
Such realization is effective. That means we cannot go on. The spiritual realization cannot like increase by material variegatedness.
Yeah. Sorry.
Also, diminishing our vision of material variegatedness because of centered on our own desire, sense gratification, creates artificial.
Very nice. Actually, it's directly related to the impersonal Brahman realization, this statement, although it has effect in so many ways. But Prabhupada says, such realization of the impersonal Brahman is affected by a gradual negation. So he often talks about how Brahman realization is about neti neti. It's not this, not that. So it's a gradual negation of variegatedness. Right? Brahman means? One. So we start to negate, oh, these are not all individuals, they're all one. This is all the energy of the Lord. So actually Prabhupada is referring directly to impersonal realization here, as will be explained. He says, impersonal Brahman realization is the partial, distant experience of the absolute truth that one achieves through the rational approach. It is compared to one seeing a mountain or a hill. Very good, yes. Here Prabhupada says a hill from a distance and taking it to be a, what's the analogy? Taking it to be a smoky cloud. If you've ever been driving and then in the distance you see a big mountain and you're not sure because the mountain is shaped like this. It could be a cloud, it could be a mountain. A hill is not a smoky cloud, but it appears to be one from a distance because of our imperfect vision. In imperfect or smoky realization of the absolute truth, spiritual variegatedness is conspicuous by its absence. So in Brahman realization, we have a smoky realization of the absolute truth. So therefore, the absolute truth, its variegatedness, its variety is blurred into one, a concept of oneness. This experience is therefore called Advaitavad. Dvaita means dual. Advaita means the negation of dual, which means it is one. Advaitavad, or realization of the oneness of the absolute. Next paragraph. The impersonal glowing effulgence of Brahman consists only of the personal bodily rays of the Supreme Godhead, Sri Krishna. Since Sri Gaurasundar, or Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, is identical with Sri Krishna himself, the Brahman effulgence consists of the rays of his transcendental body. So here Prabhupada cuts through the smoke. Cuts through the smoke and he just says, actually this Brahman is nothing more than Krishna's bodily effulgence. It's simply the rays of the Lord. This is the Brahman, this is the oneness, this is that light that the Advaitas, those who are following Advaitavad, are focusing on. It's simply the bodily effulgence of Krishna. But then he goes even further to connect what Sri Chaitanya, which Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami is explaining, which is in these first 14 verses, he's explaining the glories of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his connectedness, how he is non-different from Krishna. So like that. So then he says that because Lord Chaitanya and Krishna are non-different, then that means that the Brahman effulgence is simply the rays of Lord Chaitanya's body also. Similarly, the super soul, which is the Paramatma, is a plenary representation of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So again, making this connection, because in the verse, remember, it talks about Brahman realization, Paramatma realization, and then Bhagavan realization. So immediately Srila Prabhupada is connecting this Paramatma in the heart of all the living entities and saying it's not only Krishna, but it is also Lord Chaitanya. So Lord Chaitanya is also there. The Antaryami, the super soul in everyone's heart, is the controller of all living entities. It is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, wherein Lord Krishna says, Sarvasya chaham riddhi sani vishta. I am situated in everyone's heart. Which verse is that? 15. Bhagavad Gita also states, Bhoktaram yagatapasam sarva loka maheshwaram. Which verse is that? 529. 529, yes. Peace formula. The Lord is present everywhere within the heart of every living entity and within each and every atom as well, which was discussed in yesterday's class. Thus, by the Supersoul feature, the Lord is all-pervading. So the Lord pervades everything. So everything is resting on his energy, which are simply the effulgence of his body, and at the same time, inside of the variegatedness of the material world, because we see there is variegatedness, there is variety, even each one of the slabs of marble on the floor, not one of them is identical. They're all, some of them may look the same, but they are not, there's variegatedness. So even within the variegatedness of the material world, Krishna has entered into every single atom. Lord Chaitanya has entered into every single atom, because Prabhupada is saying that Lord Chaitanya and Krishna are not different, they're the same. And Lord Chaitanya has entered into the heart of every living entity. Furthermore, Lord Chaitanya is also the master of all wealth, strength, fame, beauty, knowledge, and renunciation, because he is Sri Krishna himself. And if you remember in the verse, he says, where is it? He says, Purusha iti so shamsha vibhavaha. Basically, he explains that he is the original supreme personality of Godhead. In the feature of Lord Chaitanya, the Lord is an ideal renouncer. As Lord Chaitanya, in the form of Lord Chaitanya, Krishna becomes the perfection of renunciation. Just as Sri Ram was the ideal king, he accepted the order of sannyas and exemplified exceedingly wonderful principles in his own life. No one can compare to him in the order of sannyas. So Lord Chaitanya is the perfection of Krishna as an incarnation or expansion in the renounced order. Of course, we always say Krishna is the most renounced, but we see that he comes in his form as Lord Ram to represent being the king, and as Lord Chaitanya to represent a sannyasi or renunciant. Although in Kali Yuga, acceptance of sannyas, of the sannyas order, is generally forbidden. Lord Chaitanya accepted it because he is complete in renunciation. So Lord Chaitanya was able to accept sannyas because he was complete in his renunciation. What was the purpose of Lord Chaitanya taking sannyas? Why did he take sannyas?
So that he can preach.
Yeah, for preaching. And who was he trying to preach to? Yeah. Everyone. But specifically those who were trying to get away, who refused to offer any respect. So he thought, if I take sannyas, at least I'll have to offer respects, because Vedic culture means that when you see a sannyasi, even as Vaishnavas, Srila Prabhupada taught us, even if you see a Mayavad sannyasi, you still offer respect. You still offer respect to them. Because the principle is, of course, whenever we offer obeisances, we're not only offering obeisances to the jiva, but generally it's explained what we're doing is we're offering obeisances to the Paramatma, to Krishna, who's in the heart of every living entity. So we also offer respect to the ashram of renunciation, to one who is able to renounce the world and take to that lifestyle. So Srila Prabhupada continues, others cannot imitate him, but can only follow in his footsteps as far as possible. Those who are unfit for this order of life are strictly forbidden by the injunctions of Shastra to accept it. Lord Chaitanya, however, is complete in his renunciation as well as all other opulences. He is therefore the highest principle of the absolute truth. So here, Prabhupada is saying, actually, Lord Chaitanya is the highest principle, because he is complete in his renunciation. Whereas maybe with Krishna, there's often this debate, Krishna, Lord Chaitanya, which one is the most perfected? Of course, we worship Krishna, but one might argue that it's really hard to see how Krishna was renounced. I mean, dancing in the moonlight, Shari Praneen with like thousands of gopis, But actually, that's the highest level of renunciation. But Srila Prabhupada is stating here that Lord Chaitanya is the pinnacle of renunciation. He is the personification of renunciation. And interesting topic, the whole point of accepting sannyas in Kali Yuga, how it's actually something that's forbidden. It's not recommended to take sannyas in Kali Yuga. Yet we see that Lord Chaitanya took sannyas, and in his lineage, often Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur also took sannyas. Srila Prabhupada took sannyas. Srila Prabhupada, one of the first things that he did was also make sannyas disciples. And recently listening to the audiobook of the Lila Amrita, and there's one place where Satsrup Maharaj explains that Srila Prabhupada offered sannyas to young Westerners because he wanted, for the same purpose that Lord Chaitanya took sannyas, because he wanted persons who would be solely and wholly dedicated to spreading the mission of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So like that. Next paragraph. By an analytical study of the truth of Lord Chaitanya, one will find that he is not different from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. No one is greater or even equal to him. In Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna says to Arjuna, Matta parataran anyat kinchit asti dhananjaya. O conqueror of wealth, Arjuna, there is no truth superior to me. Which verse is that? Anyone knows? 7:7.
I read it, but I know. I wouldn't say.
Thus, it is here confirmed that there is no truth higher than Lord Shri Krishna Chaitanya. Shri Gauranga Mahaprabhu ki.
Jaya.
And we're also blessed that we have Lord Chaitanya personally present here. But on this huge altar, usually Lord Chaitanya is kind of relegated, Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda, they're kind of over there, It's like Krishna Balaram or Radha and Krishna, right? Radha Govinda, Madhav or Krishna Balaram. It's like, yeah, Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda are here, right? But here we see how Srila Prabhupada is so purposefully and specifically drawing our attention to the non-difference of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu from Krishna, and actually saying that no one excels him in his perfection of the absolute truth. So for us, actually, our entrance to Radha Krishna Lila, our entrance to Krishna Balaram Lila is all through the mercy of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So you can't get to Radha and Krishna without going through Lord Chaitanya. There are people who try, but they jump over the process, the authorized process. Okay, just 3 more paragraphs. Everyone still with me? Okay, barely, just barely. I see a few people like, ugh. So, the impersonal Brahman is the goal of those who cultivate the study of books of transcendental knowledge. And the supersoul is the goal of those who perform yoga practices. One who knows the Supreme Personality of Godhead surpasses realization of both Brahman and Paramatma, because Bhagavan is the ultimate platform of absolute knowledge. Yes? Does that make sense? What did I just say? Tima, what did I say? You did a head shake like, yes, it makes sense, but so I thought, anyone else? What is being said here?
Is the last.
Not you, because you're my Shiksha Guru, you'll say everything correct. You want to keep everyone else on their toes. Everyone just says, oh, Lochan Prabhu, he'll answer the question.
There are different types of realizations.
Yes.
And all of them have different levels. but
Okay.
the realization of the super soul, otherwise is absolute truth.
Okay, very good. Pretty close, but the super soul and Bhagavan are considered different levels of realization. So there's Brahman, Paramatma, which is super soul, and then Bhagavan, which is the personal realization. Paramatma is the localized aspect, and then Brahman is the effulgent energy of the Lord, or all-pervasive also. All-pervasive energy. One thing that's interesting here is Srila Prabhupada makes it a point that the Bhagavan is the ultimate platform of absolute knowledge, right? So once you get to Bhagavan, then that's the best, right? So we can be like, yay, we got Krishna, so we're the best. But that doesn't negate the others. It's very important. It doesn't negate the others. And actually, if Ron is just thinking out loud here, who here maybe before coming to Krishna consciousness was somewhere in either the impersonal program or the yogi program? Any impersonalists or yogis here? Okay. And the rest of you were either atheists or pure Vaishnavas, right? There's only 3 people in the room raised their hands. So what were you if you weren't an impersonalist or a yogi?
A Christian.
Okay, so what's a Christian?
Followers of Jesus.
Followers of Jesus. So that would fit more into, you think, Bhagavan?
No. Well, theology.
It would fit into theology? I'm going to have to think on that for a while. Good point, though. That's a good point. Christianity is definitely in a kind of slightly different
It's
thing.
similar to Vaishnavism.
Theism.
It is similar to Vaishnavism.
And probably, although you said no, but it probably is focused on the understanding that there is a God, a person God also. It's not impersonal in general, right? Mm-hmm. So that's interesting. Yes, Prabhuji.
The point Prabhupada is making, he makes the same point in a very understandable way. If you have 100 euros, you automatically have the 10 euro notes in that, and the 5 euro notes. So that all 3 aspects are there.
Yes.
That's the point.
That's the point. It's all covered in that. The danger is that sometimes we negate. I know when I first joined actually there was almost this mood that anyone who chants Om is a Mayavadi. So if you saw the Om symbol or someone, you would think like that's negative or it's derogatory. But actually as time goes on, it's like you realize, but actually Krishna says he is the syllable Om. So why are we being derogatory to anyone who chants Om? Because they just don't understand. They're actually chanting Krishna. And if they're chanting Om, that means they're probably on some progressive path. As Prabhupada says at the beginning of the purport, that Brahman realization is the first stage of self-realization. What is it? Manushanam sahasreshu kaschit yatadisiddhye, that out of many millions of people, one may aspire for perfection. And then Krishna says, and out of those who achieve perfection, hardly one knows me in truth. Which is quite a mind-boggling, because it means you can achieve perfection without knowing Krishna in truth. Does that make sense? So what I've understood and what I've heard different senior devotees explain is that it is a level of perfection to attain Brahman realization, to become free from the entanglement of the material energy. But as Prabhupada will explain more in a moment, it is incomplete. So Bhagavan realization is complete in understanding that the other 2 levels of realization are included, as Prabhuji was saying, like if you have a 1,000 euro note, if that exists, then it contains all the others. So like that. But we have to be very careful that we don't get into a mood of thinking that the others should be derided. Does that make sense?
What's that?
In fact, there are
as part or byproducts of bhakti, they are necessary realizations. Brahma-Buddha was not Suchati, Navachati. The mistake is to have that as a goal. But by practicing Bhakti Yoga to Bhagavan, we have to see that we are coming to this realization of Brahma-Buddha Prasanatman, and no make differences, we have no more anchorings or amity, and also Paramatma, we have to see that we come to this realization that everybody is directed with the same kindness by the Super Soul. It's all Krishna's mercy. It's a good point that we should not deride them. They are just limited to that, yes.
In fact, we should glorify them. Because they're making some progress.
They are part of our organization.
Beautiful, thank you. So,
But there's a difference between Mayavadis and Brahmavadis.
Yes.
Mayavadis should not be glorified.
Yeah. So Mayavadis shouldn't be glorified, but Brahmavadis are different. Yeah, and there's a whole distinction there. But just because someone chants the syllable Om doesn't mean that they're a Mayavadi, which is kind of what I was saying.
Yeah.
But Mayavadis shouldn't be glorified. Yeah, in fact. But we should be very careful where we are on the scale of our own realization to start to deride. Because Lord Chaitanya went and, sat with the Mayavadi leaders, and I'm not saying he was glorifying them, he also listened for 7 days to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya and showed him respect. He was also a Mayavadi. So, yeah, there's always this kind of gray scale, because we can get into this thing, Mayavadi, and then I feel like we become like Christians who Bible bash people, sinner! Yeah. Now, if you're someone like Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, who used to specifically cross the street, right? He was known as the Simha Guru. So he would cross the street just to, say to a Mayavad sannyasi, why are you cheating the people? Why are you, and he could bash into him. So I'm not saying that we accept Mayavad or we condone it, but just that we should be careful that we don't fall into a mentality of thinking that, oh, you're espousing Mayavad philosophy. Because a lot of people, especially now, they may espouse Mayavad completely out of ignorance, because that's just what they've been told, or they read it in some book somewhere. But their heart is probably not Mayavadi. Now, of course, there are some people who are hell-bent and determined to, position that.
But Lord Chaitanya called the Mayavadi Krishna Paradi.
And they are.
And they are, so.
Yeah. Yeah. Are you Lord Chaitanya?
No, I'm not. They are Aparadis.
They're Aparadis, but how do you deal with other Aparadis? How do you deal with Aparadis?
Don't commit Aparadis.
Yeah, perfect. Someone else is an Aparadi, so then we commit an Aparad against an Aparadi. Or is it not possible for us to commit an Aparad against an Aparadi? Yeah. Jiva Aparad is there. It's like, what is it, one devotee used to say, that sometimes you may take things to a point where the other person is incorrect, but if you hit below the belt, then you become incorrect. Does that make sense?
Yeah, you break the rules.
Yeah, you break the rules. Yeah, there's still a code of conduct, which sometimes I see that I feel anyway, and I could be wrong, there may be an immaturity in dealing with these things. When we see Lord Chaitanya said they're Aparadis, but he sat for 7 days listening to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya espouse Mayavad philosophy.
But he never became convinced.
Yeah, of course. I understand. I read the books.
Some people can become convinced.
Some people can become convinced, and I'm not encouraging people to go and listen. I'm just saying that what Lord Chaitanya says and how he acts may appear to be slightly different because he knows how to conduct himself also. Does that make sense? Whereas sometimes we may say something and conduct ourselves in a way that may also be inappropriate. And it can cause lots of problems. And it has caused lots of problems. There can sometimes be this thing, like I said, we've got Krishna, we've got the best thing, and then we see ourselves as superior, which is the antithesis to our philosophy, which is Trinada Pusuniche Na, or Gopi Bhartur Padakamalayur, Dasana Dasana Das. So we start to think ourselves superior because we've got the highest truth, and that can create within us a pride that causes us to commit aparads.
Not to feel superior, but you have higher level of realization.
Yeah, absolutely. But how do you use that higher level of knowledge? And has that higher level of knowledge seeped into the heart to make us pure enough to interact? Example is Ramaharshan Sutta. Ramaharshan Sutta also had high level of knowledge, correct? He was sitting on the Vyasasan before all the sages of Naimisharanya, disciple of Srila Vyasadeva, selected by the sadhus to speak the Bhagavatam. But when Lord Balaram entered the room, he didn't get up off his seat and show respect. And so what did Lord Balaram do?
Cut off his head.
With a piece of kusha grass. And what did he say to him? He said that you think that you're learned because you've studied under Srila Vyasadeva, but actually your learning has not affected your heart because you're still so proud and you lack humility. Therefore, when you speak, it's like an actor speaking the lines of a script, and it lacks realization. So the point is that just having knowledge does not make us advanced. Just having knowledge does not actually make us superior. And just knowing that a Mayavadi is an aparadi does not mean or give us the right to then go and commit an offense, which could also destroy our own spiritual life. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mood, because he came with the Sudarshan Chakra, right? To kill Madai. To kill Madai. And what did Lord Nityananda say to him?
Not to do it.
This isn't your mood. That was a different yuga. Put your Sudarshan Chakra away. You used that previously. In this age, what do? You chant Hare Krishna. You kill them with beauty, your beauty.
Be compassionate.
And you show compassion. So that's how Lord Chaitanya was able to recognize and explain these things. And of course, Prabhupada was very heavy with it. But what did he say? The devotees, his disciples, they said, Prabhupada, you're always talking about these Mayavadi people. Who are these Mayavadis? And what did he say? You are the Mayavadi. Meanwhile, Srila Prabhupada was initiating them. He said they were Mayavadis. Because many of them were also coming from impersonal, it is all one, I am God. So many people are infected with this disease. All of a sudden it seems like this class has become like I'm defending Mayavadis. Which I'm not. Is that coming across in the wrong way?
So it's not just
reflecting what bullshit.
Okay.
It's good that, just to add a comment to the question you asked, it's good that you're trying to tell us how, as new devotees, we should learn to deal with them rather than just saying, Prabhupada said, kick them with the iron shoes in the face.
Yeah.
Stay away from them as well.
Yeah, and I'm not saying we should go and associate with them or we should sit and listen to them for 7 days. I'm just saying that we have to be careful in our capacity to cast judgments and aspersions upon people when we don't really fully know what's going on in their heart.
No, of course. No.
Just because someone might say something like, we're all one. You go out preaching and you meet people on the street and they're like, we're all one, and Mayavadi, bang! It's like, whereas actually those persons could become the greatest, and actually many of Prabhupada's disciples, many of them will say they were complete impersonalists and probably in the Mayavadi category.
Amala Bhakti Maharaj was even initiated as a sannyasi in an impersonalist lineage. I don't know if it was exactly Mayavadi or not, but basically if you're a sannyasi in an impersonalist lineage, you're probably a Mayavadi.
I think you have to give a definition what is a Mayavadi, and some people don't know.
Okay. Well, who doesn't know what a Mayavadi is? Who does know what a Mayavadi is?
Maybe they think they know.
Yeah. Who does know? Who won't raise their hand no matter what question I ask? That's everyone in the room. Everyone's like, I don't know, and I don't think I know. I don't know. Why is he asking? When is this class going to finish? Because there's still a paragraph to read. I just wanted to finish. When is prasadam? I know prasadam. I know what who knows what prasadam is? Yeah, so good point. So what is a Mayavadi? Mayavadi is, someone who thinks that Krishna is Maya. Someone who thinks that Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, or Lord Chaitanya, or Balaram, when they come to the material world, they become affected by the material energy because their bodies are material. They don't understand the eternal spiritual nature of Krishna, that even when he comes to the material world, he is unaffected by the material energy because he is the origin of the material energy. It's his Maya. How can he be overcome by his own Maya? I mean, in actual fact, Krishna can be overcome by his own Maya, by his Yoga Maya. So he also becomes bewildered, but not by Mahamaya. And that also at his choice. So that is what a Mayavadi is, and so therefore our acharyas explain that Mayavadis, those who have this conception, are aparadis. They are offenders at the lotus feet of the Lord because they declare that he is basically mundane, that he is of the material energy, that he can be affected by the material energy, which is offensive, which is blasphemous. So, like that, so that is Mayavadi. Is that okay? Was there anything I could add? Huh?
Perfect.
Okay.
Don't get attached to Mayavadis.
Don't get attached to Mayavadis. Please pray for me. Still, in my heart, I still want to be God in my own heart. It's like, who is there? The reason we're in the material world is because we want to be God.
Yes.
What did Prabhupada say? If you're in the material world with a material body, you should have what word tattooed on your forehead? The word criminal. I've come to the material world because I want to exploit the resources of somebody else. What is it? Prabhupada says, and we want the kingdom of God without God. Because we want to be God.
Yes.
So in one sense, please pray for me. Okay. We got 2 more paragraphs. Are we going to make it? Yes. The personality of Godhead is the complete form of Satchit Ananda, full life, knowledge, and bliss. By realization of the Sat portion of the complete whole, unlimited existence, one realizes the impersonal Brahman of the Lord. By realization of the Chit portion of the complete whole, unlimited knowledge, one can realize the localized aspect of the Lord, Paramatma. But neither of these partial realizations of the complete whole can help one realize Ananda, or complete bliss. Without such realization of Ananda, knowledge of the absolute truth is incomplete. So whether you're whatever the other paths are, you're a Brahmavadi or you're yogi, mystic yogi, but you're not experiencing Ananda because there's no personal relationship. And so that's why Bhagavatam explains that even if you merge into the Brahmajyoti, after some time you have to fall down because there's a lack of personal relationship, and that personal relationship is where Ananda manifests. Last paragraph. This verse of Chaitanya Charitamrita by Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami is confirmed by a parallel statement in the Tattva Sandarbha by Srila Jiva Goswami. In the 8th part of the Tattva Sandarbha, it is said that the absolute truth is sometimes approached as impersonal Brahman, which, although spiritual, is only a partial representation of the absolute truth. Narayan, the predominating deity in Vaikuntha, is to be known as an expansion of Sri Krishna, but Sri Krishna is the supreme absolute truth, the object of the transcendental love of all living entities. Shri Krishna Bhagavan ki jai. Shri Chaitanya Charitamrita ki jai. 845 ki jai. Mayavadi's boo. Just want to make it clear that I was not promoting Mayavadi philosophy during this class. Hare Krishna. I think that's it. Time for questions, reflections. Gopaswami, Prabhu, any correction, chastisement?
We'll take that later.
Yeah.
It's interesting to raise this point, the balance between respectful behavior or etiquette and internal realization.
Understanding.
Etiquette is very beauty.
The ornament of a devotee.
Ornament of the so, like an impersonalist or Mayavadi, obviously we can respect his renunciation, but we should not hear his realization, so-called, or wishing Savanash. We are doomed if we give our heart or our mind, or maybe, well, but externally, definitely. But between both, it is not easy between, let's say, etiquette, behavior, good behavior, and internal activity. I wonder, I don't know. Looks like Prabhupada was once stressing internal carefulness. So don't listen, ask all this and that. But himself, he was always very, all circumstances, he was behaving, nicely always. His balance is brings some reflection. It's a careful subject.
It just reminded me, when Prabhupada was living in the Bowery, and he would walk by the bums who were drinking, and they would say, "Swamiji, would you like some wine?" And he would say, "No, you enjoy." Or the man who was fishing walked by, and the guy said, "Would you like some fish?" And he said, "No." The devotee was like, "Why would you say that?" He said, "Just remember Krishna is the taste of your wine." And they're like, "Baba, why would you encourage them to continue to drink wine? Why do you smash him?" And he said, if they keep drinking wine, remembering that Krishna is the taste, then eventually they'll give it up. So Prabhupada was just so expert in application, but always respectful, despite the madness that he was confronted with.
He did one interesting thing, I think, in Japan with the Mayavadi speaker. I think it was in Japan. He was sitting on the Vyasasan. It was a Hindu program. Then it was time for the Mayavadi speaker to Prabhupada is asking, so Swamiji, you please come down. Now it's the next speaker. And Prabhupada, he wouldn't go down. So he forced this Mayavadi speaker to sit in the audience. And when he started speaking, he said, now you chant Hare Krishna. And they started a kirtan. So that was not so polite.
Well, I remember he let him speak as long as it was only impersonal, and when he started to
let him speak a
speak
little bit.
Krishna, then he said, I could not.
Okay. I like that.
This is the danger. Yeah, but yes. Thank you. And please forgive somehow whenever I sit here, I always take things in a deviant way and try to deviate the Vaishnavas.
Prabhu, you have spoken the truth.
Concisely.
Concisely.
And that's true eloquence according to Krishna's calendar. Okay, unless there's anything else, any more? Gopaswami?
My personal life, first I was immediately, when there was some flavor of impersonalism, I was, doing it, to protect myself. I was still very attractive. So first that. Then after, then you become respectful. You don't feel too much in danger.
Yes, beautiful.
So you respectful. But then later, one day when we become very advanced, we'll be able to preach to these people. Very difficult.
Yeah, nice
different ways to
behave. Yeah, so in the beginning, because we're insecure in ourselves, then we have to shut things off and shut things out. But once we become more stable and steady, and it's a big topic, for sure.
But there is also fighting for Krishna. That doesn't necessarily mean that you have a doubt. But there is fighting also in Krishna consciousness. That doesn't mean that you necessarily knew fight. Just like Arjuna, he had to fight. And Krishna said you have to fight. So I think that there is a point here also that we are affected by sometimes modern ideas that you cannot show anger, you cannot do this, that spiritual life is just bliss and you just have to smile. I think that's also a point that we have to...
Yeah, very much.
Fighting for Krishna is not Maya.
Fighting for Krishna is not Maya.
When is the appropriate time or method or way to fight for Krishna? Can you give us?
I had the opportunity to fight for Krishna. It was great. I won a court case for Krishna.
Okay.
And we were on all the newspapers, television, and radio, all positive news about Hare Krishna, and that was great. That was not. That was really good preaching. That's just an example.
That was a case presented by the lawyer, or you did it yourself?
Yeah, it's a long story. I'll tell you later.
Yeah, but the point being that, it's not that we're all just lovey-dovey, everybody is okay, but there are times when we have to also defend for Krishna, fight for Krishna, which is quite clear from Bhagavad Gita. That's the whole point, that there's a time, place, and circumstance. I guess the challenge, and the point that I was addressing may not be a present point here, but there can sometimes be a tendency just to fight for the sake of fighting.
False ego.
Yeah, and if you look at how Arjuna knew it was the right time to fight, he went through a very long process of conversation and discussion. He didn't just say, now I'm going to fight for Krishna. Prabhupada fought for Krishna for Hare Krishna land, Juhu. All the devotees were like, Prabhupada, can we get out of here? And he was just like, no, this is the place. I promised Radha Rasa Vihari. And so, Prabhupada fought to the end for that also. So that's a very important point, very clear. But of course, again, application for us is something that we should take guidance and be very clear that, what did Prabhupada say, like Hanuman, for Lord Ram, he was able to exhibit anger, and Arjuna for Krishna, able to exhibit anger. But in general, anger is one of the gateways to hell. And to fight usually means you have to invoke some...
It can be channeled positively channeled?
It can be, for sure, yeah. That's the whole Kshatriya, the whole point of the Kshatriya Varna, right?
Okay.
They're meant to protect. Okay, I think we'll finish here. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna, Grantaraj Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Nanda Gaudiya Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Nitai Gaura Pranadi, Hare Krishna.
Jai Nitai Prabhu ki
Jai. Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai.